everyone.
Okay, let me start with Black Quantum Futurism that you're part of, co-founder.
Yeah, Black Quantum Futurism is a practice in theory that speaks about quantum physics, African philosophy, and ritual. The theory was written by my partner, Rashida Phillips, who is really like the mastermind behind this, and, you know, I feel like is one of the most important Afrofuturist theorists, you know, that we have today. So, yeah, she wrote the theory, and it's about a lot of concepts that we had been talking about over the years. And the first element of the collaboration was I was asked to make a soundscape album for a book called Recurrence Plot. That's all about, that's like a bunch of mini time travel stories that also connect and go forwards and backwards. So you should check that out.
You should.
You've read it?
Yeah, I have. Well, I've read the first one. There's two,
Okay.
right? When you talk about Afrofuturism and these kind of things that, well, in the way that you use it, and it breaks down like Western dominant concepts of time, can you talk about some of the things that feed into these, like this kind of knowledge system, like what kind of, you were saying about like African philosophy?
Yeah, it's just the notion of finding out that there are multiple temporalities, and like everything is not based on this, whatever you call this, you know, Christian calendar, and that, you know, we're not all headed towards doomsday, and we're not all trying to forget our past, and also not trying to, you know, copy the, you know, the conquerors of, you know, our time, basically, our European descent. Like, you know, it's just like really looking into alternative histories, different ways of viewing the future.
When you talk about it, I feel like there's a really strong relationship between who has this kind of power over time and who has power in the way that like a lot of your music, which I'm not going to introduce so much because I hope everyone knows and saw you on Friday. But I feel like one of the reasons that not one of the reasons that you look at time, but one of the reasons that time kind of matters, or that I get it from when I look at your music, is that it kind of deals with this kind of like the history of oppression. And well, I feel like history is probably the wrong word, but who has the right to kind of control how we progress.
Yeah, I mean, we have a saying in the book of it's like destroying the master's clock, you know?
Yeah.
But in a sense that we're not like under this, you know, I mean, what's a way of saying it? It's just saying that we're not separated from our past. Like, we're still connected to our ancestors. We still, you know, like, it's just not, time's not linear. That's not like a wild and crazy thing. Maybe to like, you know, those, I don't know, those stuck in their own kind of own viewpoint or ways of thinking, you know, but...
What do you think we get from being able to like question time?
Linear time is oppressive. You know, like, it's, you should question everything. You know, like, if you look at the world today and the systems at play, like, why wouldn't you question everything? But sometimes you feel so safe and comfortable and so privileged that it's hard to see what's actually happening in the world besides from what you hear from the news. And, you know.
Or people don't have a reason to question it because they don't have a problem with it, or like it doesn't harm them.
10-minute comments. Are you one of those kind of people that questions everything that goes on in the world, or are you one of those kind of people that simply believes whatever whatever people say?
In any way.
Yeah, if you're part of the problem, why would you check yourself?
Exactly.
Yeah, I really wish you were at the talk yesterday, which was on time, because I think your understanding of time, I'm not sure if anyone is here from that panel, and maybe you can ask some questions at the end, but it was very like a traditional philosophy of time, which, yeah, we could maybe talk about that later. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, how can we time travel today? Like, what kind of tools do we have at our disposal?
Well, I will. My collective, we have Black Quantum Futurism has a workshop called DIY Time Travel, but somehow you would have to make it to this workshop to know the answers. But I will say, you know, just to be nice, you can time travel through music. Music is not just something to, you know, dance badly to. It's also, you know, a form of healing, form of transportation, you know. So many things sound can be used for. I mean, this whole festival's kind of like about sound in some way, right?
Yeah, well, progress bar, yeah.
So,
can we talk about one of your projects, Community Futurism's Time and Memory in North Philly? Because I think it's something that really intrigued me. It says on your website, so I'm going to quote this, a project which uses Afrofuturism as a critical activist theory to enact a process of collective envisioning and the preservation of the community's cultural history and memory through the creation of a communal quantum time capsule. Can you explain the project a little bit and what the time capsule was and what you hoped to achieve with it?
well, with I mean, you basically said it.
Yeah, I know, sorry.
From the website, but is a community space. Last year, we were granted a fellowship from an organization in New York called the Blade of Grass, and with the funding, we proposed a project, and we opened a community space not too far from where we live in North Philly, and we held all kinds of workshops, events. Something that was important to me, I thought that was really, you know, it was important to me. This workshop we called Housing Futures, where we had, you know, different organizations and people that are working, you know, within the system to, you know, share information to the community. We also documented the ongoing changes in the community. I always say as an artist that, you know, the place where you create, you should also be, you know, giving back in any way. And
If you consider yourself an artist, let me know what type of artist are you in the comments.
understanding what's happening around you, not just, you know, like there's so much history in our neighborhoods. And in America particular, there's like a race to, you know, demolish these historical Black neighborhoods. So it's very important that, you know, we have a say in that. There's so many artists, you know, and, you know, great thinkers that came from North Philadelphia that we were able to, you know, help, whether it was saving, there's a great artist called Docs Thrash, who had a house just a couple of doors down from the community space. And we were able to work with the family and those in, you know, in charge of, you know, really keeping this place, making a historical marker. You know, so it's just really about investing in our neighborhoods and not waiting for others, and also how we can influence policy on this, you know, local level of government.
Which makes me think about one of the things that the festival is looking at is the role of the artist and the role of art. And the way that you just described it, it's as if there's some kind of responsibility, or that you feel that there's a responsibility, or that there's a capability of art to benefit the community. Do you think that what do you think like the role or the function of art is? Maybe in like a broad term, but also for you.
I don't know. Art's kind of like a joke right now. So,
Answer that question as well. If you are an artist, what does art mean to you? As for me, I love to write, and that is my art. So for me, it's a way to bring the pictures in my head to life, to create characters, to create a storyline, and also to create freedom.
You know, when I'm speaking about community, there's already community members. They could be whoever they want to be. Not, you know, they could paint, they could knit. Maybe they don't call themselves an artist. There's so many people that have so much value in the community besides
Exactly.
artists that are having meetings, that are coming together and talking about stuff, you know. Um, I don't know, artists. I don't know. They could join together more, you know, and try to create some stuff that's not like government sponsored, and you know, I don't know. I just feel like that's one thing artists can do is just come together with people outside their scene. You know, just on a basic level. Like I can't even ask that much of artists. Just be like, hey, meet someone not in your scene. Let's start with that. You know. I don't know. I mean, I don't. Art.
No, but what you're saying makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about. 1 minute. What was I going to say? Sorry. I was actually going to ask about whether you would define yourself as an artist.
Yeah, I like this. You know, I'm a creator. You know. I'm not going to. Just if I say, yeah, I'm an artist, that doesn't mean like artists are not still like pieces of shit. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely not trying to be like some of these people, most of these people. You know, I'm trying to not be a follower and like do what feels good to me. But it's so hard, you know, because the systems at play that want you to be a follower are like screaming at you all the time. So many artists fall into this thing of just being a follower. So
How do you feel about, because I backstage I called you an activist, or I said,
yeah,
and you said you weren't an activist. Can you explain that? Why aren't you an activist?
just because you give a fuck about something don't mean you're an activist. You know, like,
Sorry.
you know, I'm a poet. I'll say that as a title to wear, but I don't know about activists. Sometimes,
Would you define your work as political though, or how do you feel? Because I'm definitely not the only person who would have like been like, yeah, activist art or like political art. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I
when people do
mean,
that?
I just like will quote like this piece by Rashida. She says like, whoever you want to hump is political. Like everything is kind of political these days. Like, and it's just the truth. I guess the truth is kind of political sometimes, most times. So like, they just say I'm political. I'm just saying the truth. It's not my. I don't know. Like, it like shines a light on how like dull things are and like boxed in and the same face, fronting face, you know? So it's like, whoa, let's have Moor Mother on this. So this could be like a political thing now. You know, I'm just like, I don't know. That means like everybody else you got is from the same suburb or something. Like just make them more, it's easy. There's so many great artists that are like, so-called political, but really just like pushing the boundaries and really saying a truth that's not, you know, curated on most of these festivals and stuff. Or, you know, so many voices are shut out, you know.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the role of festivals like this can be in talking about politics around art, or what the role of art can be if? Yeah, I'm thinking about like the accessibility of places like this.
Yeah, I mean, I've been like working on this poem about like who's worse, the curator or the artist. So I'm still trying to, you know, like see what's really happening for this, you know. But I think that what I see a lot of festivals doing is like really reaching out to people that are like pushing and stepping out of the box and letting them help curate. You know, I feel like reach out, do the research, see who's doing some, you know, DIY, some just working really hard. Like, have them help you. They know what's up, you know? So.
Do you collaborate with a lot of people?
Of course. A collaboration that I just have been working on for a while called 700 Bliss just came out on tape on Hacian Vale and Don Giovanni, and it's on Bandcamp. You know, I released another project called Irreversible Entanglements. It's a free jazz album. That's on everything. Another, just recent, today or something, this group called the Avalanches. I don't know if you know them, but they're from Australia. Just did like a remix with them. Yeah, of course. I like collaborating. I like meeting people that are amazing. I like meeting artists that are dope.
You introduced yourself as a poet, and poetry has a lot of history. Well, it has like a strong connection with oral history, which I think is another kind of source of knowledge that we don't really legitimate enough. Like, it's not very, I mean, in some cultures it is, but how do you, what do you use it for in your poetry or in your work? And like, how is there like a process by which we can recognize these kind of knowledge systems a bit more? Or what can you do to put them back? And I also, sorry, just to continue asking the question, also in like the first Black Afrofuturism book, you talk about dreams in the same way. So maybe
I talk about dreams?
Not you, but Rashid probably does. It's written in the book.
Okay.
I like legitimating kind of dreams again as this kind of source of knowledge.
Yeah, I guess I should have brushed up on who read that. Or
you should read your own books.
I mean, come on. That's like, okay, I do.
No,
okay,
I'm joking.
Okay,
I'm joking.
Whatever. hey. I just don't want to like misquotes, you know, like you're saying you said something in the book, and I can only say my own opinion. And, you know, in the book, Black Quantum Futurism, there's several artists that we have both admired that we asked to write different chapters, you know, in their own, you know, words. Mm-hmm. But now I'm like, what is the question you just asked? That was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Something about, what was the first part? Poetry.
Oral history.
Oral history. Yeah, like, I mean, I don't want to, just to go quickly through, like, so-called American history, you know, like, certain people were not even allowed to read, write, go to school, you know? So the oral tradition is very important of how we communicate and pass down stories, like... You know what I mean? Like, yes, you know, it's very important. Any type of recording, of course I want to hear it. Of course it's important to me because in so-called, you know, American history, you know, these things were held away, you know, like you could die or get killed, murdered or whatever by trying to like write down your history or where you came from. Mm-hmm. So it's like, imagine that, you know, like the oral tradition, you know, is.
Be honest with yourself. Could you actually imagine going through situations like that where it would be against the law for you to read and to write, to learn different things? You know, let me know in the comments. How do you think? I mean, I can't sit there and say how do you think you would feel because now thinking back then, yeah, you'll be upset. But then going through it, I mean, I guess it would be natural because that's the way, you know, things were. It's crazy.
Very important, from gospel to spirituals to so-called, you know, African-American classical music, like all of this, the foundation of all the shit we listen to all day. You know what I mean? And then with when it comes to oral tradition, my way of practice is just like to tell the exact truth from however I can without adding any kind of fluff or fantasy or to make it easy for someone to digest. Like the story is there already. Like it's like Metropolarity says, sci-fi is now. I don't have to make this something else. You know what I mean? It's already fucked. And then the last part of the question was
about how we can legitimate these kind of knowledge system, like using, maybe it's better to say about how you use oral history or these kind of like past voices in your work.
Oh yeah, like
maybe through fetish bones or something.
Yeah, I write a lot of poetry, and not everything fits, but it just so happens with fetish bones, like.
Can you tell what the narrative was in Fetish Bones for people who might not know?
Well, there was different sets. I mean, I have this thing where for like 2 weeks I'll study or just follow a particular subject. Like I did one on the Ebola outbreak, and for 2 weeks that's all I read and thought about and wrote about every day, and so that's like, one way of following kind of just different practices that I try to do with poetry. I don't know, like poems about my neighborhood,
But can I ask a question about the anthropology of consciousness?
Oh yeah.
Can you introduce it to people?
It's a workshop that I do, just speaking about or redefining what technology is and showing people that like writing is a technology, and also just like your body is a technology. You could actually feel things. I mean, it's not like some crazy concept as far as like you can go into a space, and if you can quiet yourself enough, you can kind of feel what has happened there before. Sometimes it takes like a lot of energy, like maybe you'll go into a hospital or something, or a prison, and you can feel these kind of energies of what may have happened here. So in the workshop, that's what I do. Take people out into different spaces.
So these kind of spaces, like previous hospitals and...
No, I don't go into hospitals. You don't have to actually go into a hospital. I'm just saying for like people that have trouble feeling.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's like a place where you could go to understand what I'm saying. But through the workshop, we go through different exercises, where we can go into like a playground or something, anything. Mm-hmm. But this is the world. We know how much fucked up shit. You don't have to, we're probably on top of graves right now, like it's not so wild. You know what I mean? Like this is a...
Is it like something that people repeat to like practice? Is it something that people are trained to kind of, the way that you perceive things to get like, as in, is it something you're trained like...
Like, where does it come from? It's my own way of writing. This is what I do. And then you make the workshop to share what you do to other people, So, so that's kind of, it's just I don't, I'm not claiming like I'm so cool or something to do this. I'm just like, this fucking worked for me. You don't need money or anything. Like, you and a pencil and a paper is technology enough to, recover some of this shit that's being blocked.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to open it up to see if we have one or two questions. We don't have much time, but if anyone has...
That person has a question.
I can't see anything. I'm not wearing my glasses.
Thank you. Thank you for the interview. You say you're a poet. Do you know any poems by heart? And could you cite one?
Yeah.
Any poems of my poems or the
Yeah, your
world's
own.
poems?
Yeah. The world might be a bit too big, huh? Your own.
Ah.
Sorry.
Oh. By heart. By heart. Ah.
It seems like this woman have forgotten. And it just made me think of something that, I thought I was the only one. And after looking at this, I see that I'm not. So after I got done writing my book, I passed it over to someone to read it. My mother-in-law let her read it so she can make corrections or whatever that she see that I overlooked. And I say after she had the book maybe 2 or 3 days, she called me up with something that she saw. She reading the book off to me, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself like, I wrote that. I seriously could not remember. You know, uh, I wrote all 84,000 words myself. Yes, it's true. But my mind was focused on book 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. And I seriously forgot that I wrote it. And the crazy part about it is when I went back and I, observed what she noticed, I still couldn't believe that I wrote that. But yeah, all the corrections is taken care of, and yeah.
This is a hard. I got raps. I got all kinds of shit up in here.
We'll also accept a rap.
Yeah, I don't think they have much time, so.
I'm just at a block. Can you give me like a few secs or whatever? Someone ask another thing. I'll get into my brain.
One more question because we're strict on time. No one else wants to ask a question.
Okay, there's a question.
I'm an American too. Have you taken time since you've been in Holland to sense into the energies that are, kind of loose in these old walled cities of Holland?
Yeah, I like Holland. My favorite place is Rotterdam. I want to move to Rotterdam since the first time I went there in like 2015.
Let me know in the comments, have you ever visited Holland or do you have the desire to want to go? Because honestly, I did not know this interview took place in Holland and now I'm curious about it.
Was like, oh shit, I'm moving to Rotterdam. And that's pretty much like where I like to spend my time when I have off days. But for some reason, I started coming to Amsterdam lately on my off days because I don't know. For some reason, I was like, this is pretty cool in Amsterdam. Because before I was like, ugh, Amsterdam's like New York. You wait in line for French fries. This is dumb, going to Rotterdam. But, yeah, I think it's, I feel like a free vibe here, but if you want to hear some feelings, it's kind of like this safe kind of like place. Like everyone's like, I guess you call it like passive aggressive. It's like this smart ass kind of thing. Like we're so smart. We're so smart. But like, with this whole Santa shit. What's it called? Wheats.
Oh, Zwarte Piet?
Yeah, like.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Ugh. Say nothing to me about being smart about anything. You're fucking kidding me? This shit's still going on? And y'all walking around with books, so-called books, and nice shirts and shit? The fuck? When are y'all gonna end this shit? The fucking... I don't give a shit. It's dumb. It's corny.
It's racist.
Pisses me off. You're lucky I didn't remember it before the show last night. I remembered it in the beginning of the month when I was here, and I was just like, just like, how dare you motherfuckers keep allowing this shit? You know you could handle it. You're fucking smart as fuck, apparently. But no, like, I don't want to see that shit when I come here, you know, like, what the fuck? But, yeah, the poem thing, I don't know, you know. It's hard for me to think. There's too many, all the words are like, words. It's all scrambled in my head. So I'll just do like a little haiku or like just like, he tried to escape, ain't that easy nowadays, concrete plantations. That's just that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
That was the best interview given by Moor Mother. If you know one better than that, please let me know in the comments. Let's have a discussion. Tell me what you think about the interview.